vision and mission, programs and agenda for the good people of Delta State.
Interestingly, it is 2 days to the governorship election in Delta State, and as a familiar tradition in politics, a debate where candidates meet to state how they hope to achieve their various objectives for the people is very necessary ahead of Saturday, March 8, 2023 election.
This debate will also provide a platform for the candidates to further articulate their policies, their programs to the good people of Delta State and beyond.
And we're happy to inform you that this debate is being viewed live across the entire globe from various broadcast outlets, both conventional and online, and of course on YouTube at Arise News Channel, and on the Arise News website at www.arise.tv, which you can watch on. You can also watch on channels 44 of the GoTV and channel 416, 416 on DSTV, 519 on Sky, and you can also follow us on Twitter at Arise TV with the hashtag Delta Gubernatorial Debate 2023.
As a 2-hour debate, it is divided into 3 segments. The first segment will deal with setting the ground rules, opening remarks by each candidate, and they will all be taking questions on the Delta State economy.
The second segment will engage the candidates on security, the all-important issue of security, and social-political issues, while the third segment and last segment will focus on questions from the viewers via our social media platforms.
To foster an atmosphere of mutual friendliness, all candidates have agreed to abide by the rules set aside for this debate by keeping to the time allotted to them for expression with no usage of abusive words or hate speech.
And yes, indeed, we will now bring you each of the governorship candidates in an alphabetical order of the acronyms of their political parties, the names of their political parties, and at this juncture, our live audience will be allowed to clap only for the candidates as they make their way to the stage. And interestingly, that will be the only opportunity to clap while this debate goes on, because it's a rare opportunity. And first on the list is the candidate of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, Chief Great Ogoro. Let's make him welcome to the stage.
Chief Ogoro will be followed by the candidate of the Labour Party, Declan Kennedy Peller.
I thought the respectable and distinguished candidates will have their seats for a while before they come over to be elected to address the very important issues that Deltans want to hear tonight. And next is Chief Kenneth Baggy of the Social Democratic Party. Chief, you're welcome. You may have a seat.
Finally, we have the candidate of the Young Progressives Party, Comrade Sonny Ufeto. Ladies and gentlemen, and our esteemed cooperative audience, may we stand now for the national anthem of Nigeria and the anthem of Delta State. time constraints, we'll go straight to the program. Please, gentlemen, have your seat.
And welcome back. We will begin with an opening remark with Mike beginning. But before that opening remark, it is important that we give a sort of explanation why the candidates of the All Progressive Congress, distinguished Senator Ovioma is not here, together with the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Right Honorable Sheriff Oborori. They both at the last minute turned down the invitation. That's quite interesting to think that this, in the just concluded election, presidential election, the Labour Party swept resoundingly Delta State. And one would have thought that the All Progressive Congress candidate will seize this golden opportunity to convince Delta State indigents or citizens of why they should vote for him, together with the candidate of the PDP. But at the very last minute, they chose to I don't want to say for want of a better word, they both bolted at the last minute. They would have had a free opportunity to sell themselves and their agenda to the people of Delta State. But thankfully, we have these very distinguished candidates who are here to make good this opportunity, made possible by the Arise News channel.
Indeed, the last election, the presidential election, the Labour Party swept 18 out of 25 local government areas, scoring a total of 341,866 votes. Its closest rival was the People's Democratic Party with 161,600 votes. And the All Progressives Congress, APC, scored 90,183 votes. And as Frank said, we thought it would have been a great opportunity for them to be here to ensure that at least the governorship and House of Assembly elections are keenly contested. But again, we say welcome to the 4 candidates who've turned up.
And now it's important that we go to the next segment. We will now listen to an opening remark by the legendary Mike Igini, who is the evening past resident electoral commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Akwa Ibom State. Let's now go to the viewing the monitor and listen to the man who is the repository of electoral integrity in Nigeria, the legendary Mike Igini, who is also proudly an indigene of Delta State. So, Mike Igini.
Good evening to all who are gathered here tonight for today's debates put together by our press television under the full sponsorship of our own Duke of Delta, Chief Nduka Obaga, in the service of our home states, the homeland, Delta State. It all began sometime in December when I placed a call to Nduka Obaga that the 2023 election is going to be a very important election, given the number of innovations that have been developed by the Independent National Electoral Commission to address historical challenges of election service delivery in choice making. But of importance is how do we contribute to the leadership recruitment process in Delta State, given that whatever progress that we hope to make in our own Delta State will be dependent on the choices of leaders that we are going to make, depending people of Delta State in the 25 local governments will make on the 18th of March 2023. How do we help the people to make informed choice of who should lead? It's on the basis of that we are having this debate tonight, taking place in this beautiful event center that the former NFA president, Ahmadu Bello, graciously offered and paid for to allow this event to take place. So tonight, the people of Delta State who are going to cast their vote on the 18th, and all those who are outside Nigeria, who are in touch with their family members, we have to listen to your manifesto tonight, how you intend to deliver to the people of Delta State. Because whatever promise that we are going to make tonight to the people of Delta State will be the basis for evaluation and also judging by the next election. It's on this note that we want to thank the candidates that have today honored the call for them to speak to the people of Delta State. I wish you the very best of luck, and may the choice of the people of Delta State prevail on Saturday, the 18th of March, 2023.
Thank you very much. That was the former immediate past Resident Electoral Commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission of State, Mike Igini, giving that wise counsel to the people of Delta State, he himself being a proud indigenous of Delta State. We go straight to the debate. The initial rules are that each of the candidates will have 4 minutes each to make an introductory remark, and we will also have another 2 minutes each to make a concluding remark. And you can go on.
Well, your opening remarks will introduce yourself and why you think you're suited for this job. Of course, we expect to hear about your antecedents and your achievements that qualifies you to be on this stage competing for the governorship seat of Delta State.
It is a battle of ideas and ideology for the hearts and minds of the people of Delta State. And the stage is set for you to speak to the people that matter, in whom lies the ultimate political power. Now, you will have 2 minutes each to answer to any question. And without further ado, may we respectfully welcome the candidate of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, Chief Great Oboru.
And you have 4 minutes for your opening remarks.
Good evening, all. It's a pleasure to be here this evening with you. Let me do what I do traditionally as a way of salutation to Deltans. Ruwado, Zugo Waje, Izo Kulumi, Shikiri Ajabokia, Igogwini, Ajajeni, Undium Notofi, Inekenono, Sierra. My name is Great Oboru. I'm the candidate of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, as you know. I'm contesting for the position of Governor of Delta State in these coming elections. As to why I want to be your governor, it is clear that the state needs some kind of redefinition. I have contested for this position severally in time past. And the results sometimes were not so good, but most of the times we did score electoral victories, which of course did not translate into a government house. Having said that, I know that with the background I have, with the experiences I have, I think I am quite eminently qualified to be the governor of Delta State. As a young man, an entrepreneur, a businessman, I was able to be the captain of an industry at a very early stage, at a very early age. At that time, back in the mid-80s, I established a company called Fuelnet Limited. Fuelnet Limited later became the leading company in the industry, that is the fish industry. And that was not just limited to Nigeria, it was almost a worldwide phenomenon. Fuelnet Limited went ahead to establish several subsidiaries, the GLE Finance Company, the Grato Nigeria Limited, the Sofima, which was a joint venture with the Soviet Union, of course the government of the Soviet Union at that time, and so many other companies employing lots and lots of Nigerians and creating opportunities for the young and those who were able to do things. With that experience, I learned a lot of management skills. Unfortunately, every good story has a little of a cover, and then things didn't quite go as planned, and I had to leave this country for a while. And whilst outside there, I went back to school. I was able to acquire 2 master's degrees, and as fate will have it, living in Nigeria with little or no penny in my pocket, I was still able to acquire some several fishing vessels, employing about 68 Russian crew on each of those vessels, being a black man employing well over 300 Bulgarians. So I'm eminently qualified to understand the dynamics of business, the dynamics of human behavior, and what it takes to govern society. Having said that, when I came back to this country, I established the South African Coalition with other persons. In fact, my brother Ken was one of those who participated in those early exercises. And then I went into the politicking and I contested the governorship under the Alliance for Democracy, and then the Democratic People's Party, the Labour Party, and then the APC in the last elections, and now we are here. What am I trying to say? There is a rich wealth of experience in all of these put together. And with what we know about Delta State, I believe that if given the opportunity, these challenges can be resolved. If you are left, if somebody took all your life savings and all your resources from you in one day, and you're able to survive 20 years after, 33 years after, and still standing and strong, then there must be some sort of Midas touch that makes it possible. There must be some kind of appropriate understanding which drives your thinking, your reasoning, and your actions. I think all of those things put together make me a very, very, very better person to take the reins of government in Delta State. And don't forget that in the past 20 years, I have been the runner-up in all of the elections in Delta State. I ran against James Igori, I ran against the Governor of Duaga, and also ran against Okowa. In all of those elections, I did second.
Chief Okoro, I must say that time is up.
Thank you very much.
Yes, time is up.
Next, we call on the candidate of the Labour Party, Deacon Kennedy Pella, to make his opening remarks. And again, you have 4 minutes.
Thank you. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here to address this gathering and Deltans and the global world about why I want to be governor of Delta State and why I am eminently qualified to be governor of Delta State. I am Kawari Kennedy Pella, simply known as Ken Pella or KKP. And I studied economics, became an investment banker, went into real estate and have developed estates. I'm also into power as chairman, chief executive of a power company producing and selling power in the Delta area of Lagos State. I'm also a director of an agri company into agri mechanization. So I believe that over the years, I've been prepared to tackle the issues that concern Delta State and to build the kind of Delta of our dreams. More importantly, I have a vision, a specific vision with a clear roadmap of how to build a better Delta where righteousness, harmony, and prosperity reigns. The vision, the roadmap simply that goes by enthroning righteousness. Righteousness in our land, righteousness in governance. Because one of the biggest problems in Delta is the kind of impunity over the last 24 years that has reigned. And so what we want to do is lay a foundation of simply doing the right thing. The right thing in terms of accountability and integrity in governance. The right thing in terms of fairness, equity, and justice. Underlining everything we do in governance. The right thing in terms of eliminating waste and corruption in governance. The right thing in terms of reorientating the values of our people. The right thing in terms of ensuring mass participation of people in governance. We believe that when we enthrone righteousness, we can create harmony. Harmony in terms of peace and harmony, and we will enable this by putting in place security, working on the security architecture of the state to ensure peace and harmony. And by the time we put these two together, we create an environment where prosperity can thrive. Now, we believe that what will underline prosperity is the well-being of our human beings. So we will ensure that we put in place good health care, good education, and we ensure we have good infrastructure across the land. But more importantly, we are not going to leave the prosperity of Delta to chance. We will engender prosperity with 8 key prosperity drivers.
Taylor, your 4 minutes is up. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for keeping to the rules. No handbars, no cheering, and no booing. It is now the turn of Chief Kenneth Gadi. Kenneth Gadi, your 4 minutes starts now.
I bring greetings to all of you that is seated here, but more importantly, to the owners and operators of Arise TV for doing it good and proper to bring this interview to bear. We are in a serious state of crossroad in a state called Delta. My names are Kenneth Omemila Bagi. I'm a Delta from Oginibo, Ogini South, paternally and maternally from GC. Married with my 9 children, living all in the country. My issue is very simple. We have brought Delta to its knees, and the only solution I know can cross this path for us as people is industry, industry, industry. How do we want to do it? Over 43.4% of all our youths are out of school, out of jobs, and no hope of what happens to them tomorrow. My government is clear. I will eradicate my youths from the streets with immediate effect as we take over governance. But put it very mildly, I do not think that the requirement for being a governor of a state like Delta is a child's play. I was once the chairman of the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria. That opportunity afforded me to look at everything that has to do with oppression, imprisonment, incarceration in this country.
was former chairman of Delta State Development and Property Authority in Delta, and I moved to become the former minister for state education, where within 1 year I created 13 universities in Nigeria. Well, put it mildly, I'm a businessman more than being a politician. In my private life, as I speak to you today, I engage and I continuously engage over 6,000 youths in this area of Delta State with my two massive mosques, the one at Deco Road and the one at PTI Road. I resonate as the first black man in the whole world to become or attain that coveted level of being an AKS member of Rotary. And with Rotary behind me, I have all that it takes to bring back investment. I have all that it takes to carefully bring back all our lost industries that hitherto had left the state as a result of bad governance in the state. So I bring to you that when it comes to experience and how to run a government and a people, I must qualify for that job. And I thank you for that opportunity.
Chief, you've got just 1 minute left.
Okay. I believe that with everything that has happened in our state today, unless we take it to the level where we resolve the problems that were caused by us and ourselves, we'll be wasting our time. Delta cannot continue with a civil servant mentality. We need an entrepreneur and an expert in business to develop us, just like they're doing in Lagos, they're doing in Nogo. We cannot cosmetically bring Delta back to where we are, if anything.
And Chief Kenneth Badi, time is up. Thank you very much.
And finally, we have the candidates of the Young Progressive Party, Comrade Sonny Ofehe, and we also have 4 minutes for your opening address.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Comrade Chief Dr. Sonny Ofehe. I'm from Iyede, Isoko North Local Government Area of Delta State. I was 23 years old when I left this country. I've spent 27 years plus living in the Netherlands, and I have environment and human rights activism as my background. My track records over the issues of the Niger Delta as I bring them to the global stage is out there for everyone to see. We currently have Delta State, a state that is in peril, a state that any leader that needs to take over the mantle from 2023 need to be somebody that will think outside the box. We cannot continue to boast of the 165 square kilometers of coastline that is not properly being utilized. And being the south, the gateway to the south and the southeast region of this country, we are not using the economic potential that can bring to us. We currently have the highest number of tertiary institutions in this country, which makes us, in terms of human capital development, leaves us with a lot of opportunity to engage our young people, which nobody is talking about. You will all agree with me that we're currently in recession. We currently rank the state that has the second highest debt profile in this country, which means that anyone that is seeking this office must be someone who has the capacity to be able to bring in foreign direct investments. My 27 years outside of this country puts me ahead of every other contestant on this ballot to be able to attract. And my benchmark in my first 1 year in office has been put at $26 billion of foreign direct investment possibilities that can come into this states. And then, of course, I want to look into how we can grow our middle class. We do not have any functioning middle class at this moment. And also, we need to also look into how we can begin to create job opportunities for our young people, and also look into how we can bring back our moribund companies that are no longer existing at the moment. So I have the capacity, the tenacity, the exposure, the contact, the network around the world to be able to key into the Sustainable Development Goal project and also to key into the climate change opportunities that avails themselves with the current COP27 conditions that has exploded. And then also, lastly, we need to start to look into how we can attract investment in all other sectors. Rotterdam, a city where I live today, currently has the highest concentration of tank farms in the world, and I think that Delta states can compete at that level. If we are able to get leadership right in this state, we have the potential to become the 7th largest economy in sub-Saharan Africa. And as we go through this debate, I will begin to let Deltans know my plans towards achieving all of these economic and social goals. Thank you very much.
That's time up.
Thank you very much, Comrade Ofe.
Interestingly, while the debate formally started a while ago, we just got a letter from the People's Democratic Party, which I will take time to read in the course of the debate. We also had a letter written by the political party All Progressive Congress, both letters explaining why their candidates are unable to be at this event, and we will take time to read the letters and appropriately respond to them. But I think we will go straight to the meat of the matter at this time, which is the debate. To that extent, we will start with asking questions on infrastructural and rural development. Angela?
Yes. So, we'd like to ask the 4 gentlemen to come to the podium, to the lectern, where you will stand for the rest of the debate.
That is a good sign of health, that you are strong enough to do the job. Right, so the questions will be coming from us and the panel here, and then with the global audience that is currently watching you, taking interest in the greatest state in the Federal Republic of Nigeria that has a number of not only material resources but human resources. So there is a keen interest in this state to which any one of you will be seeking at this time and will ultimately govern as the executive governor. And the first question in this regard, which when it is asked, you will have 2 minutes to give a short answer. You are speaking to Delta, the ultimate people. They want the votes, they determine. You are supposed to be their servants. Speak to them. And the question on infrastructure, the first one is, what definite plans? Before we started, Angela and I agreed that we are not going to speak to your manifesto, but ask the genuine questions. So, what definite plans do you have to attract the kind of funds, investments, and models that will ensure that the infrastructural deficit in Delta State is addressed? In addition to the fact that Delta State has a large swath of rural areas that are not connected to the internet, that are not connected with roads, especially in rural areas. What definite plans do you have for infrastructural and rural development of Delta State? The question, so starting with Chief Great Obo, you have the 2 minutes.
Well, in terms of infrastructural development, we have identified that revenue generating assets in Delta State are just not there. Therefore, we have come with the conclusion that what needs to be done is to invest in critical areas in which the state has comparative advantage to produce, i.e., in the oil and gas sector, in agriculture. And that investment in these critical areas will actually lead to fiscal infrastructural development. But I also want to say that when we talk about infrastructural development, we believe that the best infrastructural development is the investment you have in the human resources portfolio, because that investment is able to regenerate investments. So, investing in critical areas like in oil and gas, in the marine sector, in agriculture, in human capital development, we think that the road to infrastructural development But precisely, we're looking at modular refineries, we're looking at investment in marine ocean-going vessels, we're looking at making sure that our agricultural sector is mechanized. And when that is done, the infrastructural requirements that you need will make this a better place for Delta
Your
State.
2 minutes is up. Next, we have Chief.
No hand claps, please.
Right. Infrastructural deficit. The angle I like to look at it from, besides what we will do as a state, is to attract private sector investment. And one major plan we have to do that is our plan to develop 10 new cities across Delta. 10 new cities that are linked by multimodal transport. 10 new cities that are expected to attract investments because they will be the visionary to build those 10 new cities, one in each federal constituency. And those cities will have tourist destinations, they would have internet connectivity, they will have power, 24-hour power, using the concept of distributed generation. The idea is that when you have places that you can easily go to plug in, for example, you have central sewage in those cities. Someone can easily come to build a skyscraper there. So the thing we will do is start with those 10 cities and the kind of investment that will come in. Private sector investment will enable us build them and enable us connect them. Those cities will be built in largely the rural areas of Delta. That's why
The Impella, you're talking about creating 10 cities and your 2 minutes is up. Thank you. Now we go next to Chief Kenneth Dagi of the Social Democratic Party. Chief Kenneth Dagi, your 2 minutes starts now.
Thank you very much. Delta State infrastructurally has stopped any development since 1999 to date. The only solution we have is to bring back government to the local level. The third tier of government is completely missing. And if you take all this period that government has operated without the third tier in government, it has made it very impossible for development to get to the rural areas. So what we will do differently is that first and foremost, I will bring back what is due to local government every month. They've been denied their source of fund for the last 7 years. We will bring back those funds to the local government and will create that arrangement to see how they develop themselves towards the rural areas of our state. Unless we take security as important, nobody will invest in Delta State. No new investment will come here. So first and foremost, we are going to examine the problem of security. And then that being our area of expertise, once we guarantee security, we bring back the money that is due to local government and put up an arrangement for the next 40 years how we want to develop ourselves as a people. I believe it will be a win-win situation with regards to the infrastructure.
Thank you very much. Now to talk.
Well, my government is going to be the first government that will look beyond the FAC allocation, the 13% derivation, and the 2% that we get from profit made from the oil companies. There is need for us as a state to look critically into our oil and gas sector. Most of the people operating in our state today have systematically taken their corporate headquarters out of this place. So in my first 100 days in office, I'm going to sit down with the IOCs. I'm going to discuss modes of operation and the need for them to come back so that from there I can attract corporate and income taxes. And I'm not going to end there. I'm going to look into the agricultural sector. As it stands right now in Europe, land is gradually shrinking, and Europe cannot even boast of up to 20% of land space. And while in Delta, we still have about 75% of our land space that is begging for utilization. And there are several investment opportunities that lies in this sector. So with my connection and my knowledge of how these things work, I will be able to attract into these states several big companies that will come in. And this is where I want to also raise my 26 billion that I just mentioned in my first instance. And then look at the infrastructure. I told them in Baruto, in Asaba, there is a need for us to look at how we can bring back our companies, like the Asaba textile mill, for instance. 75% of what we're wearing today here is made, is sewn by our own African Nigerian tailors, and the cotton are being exported from the outside. So I want to also critically look at how we can bring back our moribund industries and how we can ensure that through bringing them back, we'll be able to employ some of our unemployed youth, and in that area, we'll be able to attract investments through corporate and income taxes that will come from those sectors.
All right, Comrade Sonny, time is up, your 2 minutes up. We hope to get more directives from the producers to give us the data from the PDP and the ABC. We also have directives to ask. As a follow-up question to this round of questioning, and it goes on this specific note. The candidates of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, Chief Peter mentions a technical term called comparative advantage. And so the question will follow up to the issue of infrastructure and rural development is this. Delta State is noted for the natural resource of having natural harbors, water bodies big enough to have at the time 4 ports, seaports in these 4 seaports in Nigeria, in Delta State. Now, the question is, which none of you spoke to, is this. What specifically would you do in 2 minutes? Let Deltas know that the blessing of seaports, harbors, whether it's in Sapele, in Koko, in Focados, in Warri, all of these national resources, what would you do to harness this natural blessing for the benefit of the people of Delta? We are aware of other states, I don't want to mention, that are developing deep sea, Atlantic cities, even though they are state governments that don't have authority to develop ports, because ports is on the exclusive list. So, what would you do specifically? Because the next question is to unemployment. What would you now do with this natural blessing that has been abandoned over the years? There are seaports, whether in Koko, whether in Warri, whether in Focados, whether in Sapele, all around natural harbors big enough to host big ships. What would you do? In 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. I did say, you said we didn't speak to the issues. I did mention about ocean-going vessels. What I actually meant, or what I'm trying to say, is that if you look at the situation on the ground today, our ports are largely idle, and that should not be so. And we have to now bring goods all the way, for instance, containerized goods, all the way from Lagos by road. The idea here is that we should have badges after some negotiations and agreement with, of course, the NPA and the federal government to make it possible that goods that are destined to pass from the south-south and the southeast, in, for instance, the containerized goods, come through Warri Port or even through Koko Port. That way we decongest Lagos and we create opportunities here. So our ports become active, become revenue generating, and of course create jobs and opportunities for people. That way, I think the investment in the comparative advantage, which I mentioned earlier, is taken care of as far as the marine resources will be concerned. But there is much more to it. There are so many other things which we can do with our ports. And I think that given the opportunity, over time, we will make each and every one of these ports not only active, but profitable. I believe that those ports are opportunities for investment for the future.
the issue of reviving our seaports. The four seaports in Cocoa, Sapele, Warri, and Burutu is one of the 8 key points or 8 key prosperity drivers that we have in mind. Now, just like you mentioned, there are states that are developing seaports, deep seaports, and so on. So we're going to work with the issues of using the route of the EPZ to ensure that we restore some of those seaports and get them working again.
Thank you, Deacon Pella. Next, Chief Barry.
I believe very strongly that because we lack the understanding as to why these various seaports are locked up, we will not go very far. We are in an economic war sphere. Lagos is part of Nigeria. Lagos is benefiting the lockup of all the ports, be it Sapele, Cocoa, Sapele, whatever. The fact remains that we must demand what we truly own. There is an agreement for developing those ports, and that agreement clearly states that goods coming to the southern part of Nigeria must come this route. But for political expediency, the governors and the people in Lagos have taken those arrangements, and while Lagos is benefiting for every ship, for every container, for every vehicle that is there, it is at our own expense that Lagos is benefiting. As a governor, I will ensure that duty, we will ensure that the president implements that simple agreement and the rule by allowing our ports to take the goods that are due to this area. The cost implications are enormous. For us to bring our goods through this area, we'll be saving millions of money. There's quite...
Your 2 minutes is up, Chief Barry. Next, Comrade Ofehe.
Well, when it comes to the issue of our 4 under-functioning seaports, it is one area that has actually given me some nightmares. The advantage the people of Delta State has, as me becoming the next governor, is that I live in a city called Rotterdam. And Rotterdam has the most busiest seaport in the world. And for those who have been able to access my manifesto, I have clearly stated in my manifesto that I'm going to set up a Delta State liaison office in Rotterdam. And one of the reasons why I am doing that is because the advantage that the Rotterdam port and the Antwerp port gives to the world, I'm going to ensure that I put in the right people that will talk to these port authorities so that we can bring their experts in here to assess the level of our seaports and to also see how we can draw up a proper business plan for either complete takeover of those seaports from the federal government or at least work with the federal government in a public-private partnership arrangement. And the funds that will follow such investments will be coming also from Europe. You know, there are funds that are available in Europe under the European Union. There are other funds that are available from states from countries in Europe. So these are the opportunities that we will bring to the table. Thank you.
Your 2 minutes is up. And before we go further, I think we will read out the letters from the People's Democratic Party and the APC.
Well, I think I'll start with the letter from the People's Democratic Party. It is still the Delta State Governorship Debate 2023 happening live here from the historical city of Warri. And we are fielding questions from the possible next governor of Delta State right here. The whole world is watching through the social media channels of Arise TV and on Sky, DSTV, GoTV, and on YouTube. The letter from the People's Democratic Party is addressed to, and it goes as, okay. So, it's dated 15th of March, so it's a letter written probably while we were here live and sent to the Deputy Managing Director of Arise Television,
Mr. Emmanuel Efeni, 113 Awolowo Road in Lagos. Dear sir, title, Arise News Delta State Gubernatorial Debate. We write to acknowledge receipt of your invitation. We write to acknowledge receipt of your invitation letter to the Arise News Gubernatorial Debate. This is to express our gratitude to your organization for inviting the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, the Right Honorable Sheriff Oboriwori, to participate in this auspicious debate. Unfortunately, he is unable to attend because of a prior scheduled engagement, which we strenuously try to rearrange unsuccessfully. You may wish to consider another date, if possible, to enable him participate fully, and please bear with us. Thanking you for your kind consideration and understanding, just in the service of our fatherland, Dr. Ifeanyi M. Usuza, Deputy Director, Media and Publicity, Delta PDP Campaign Council, State Publicity Secretary, Delta State PDP. Please, we have the Arise News channel is responding to the end without much of taking any time. That since the Right Honorable Sheriff Oboriwori, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, has alluded to the reason of having another engagement for today, that's being the basis for not being here. Arise News is offering him live and direct another opportunity tomorrow at the same venue, the same time, to be here. And all of the paraphernalia that have been put together that have been put together to ensure that this work will remain, whatever the cost is, just for Right Honorable Sheriff Oboriwori, the PDP candidate, or for the Delta State Gubernatorial election, to be here to speak to Deltas with regards to his mandate, his ideas and ideology, and his willingness to serve the people of Delta as the governor, or as the Deputy Governor of Delta State. Angela.
Okay, I also have the letter signed by Sonny Are. He's the Chief Press Secretary to Senator Ovie Omoagege, and this is from the All Progressives Congress. It is addressed to the Deputy Managing Director of Arise News, and it reads, in the evening of Tuesday, March 14th, the Delta ABC Campaign Organization received a letter from your organization inviting the leading contender for the March 18 governorship election in Delta State and APC's flag bearer, Senator Ovie Omoagege, to a debate involving the major candidates. Although the invitation came rather late, as we had other engagements already lined up, Senator Omoagege is prepared to rejig his schedule and participate in the debate. However, his readiness to participate in any debate had always had a caveat. His main opponent and candidate for the People's Democratic Party, PDP, should also be in attendance. Unfortunately, we have confirmed that Right Honorable Omorewori has chickened out of the debate. Of course, this does not come as a surprise, as the PDP flag bearer had repeatedly indicated that he will not participate in any debate, probably to conceal his inadequacies from the discerning electorate. As a result, Senator Omoagege is not inclined to participate in the debate when Right Honorable Omorewori is not there. However, if, as he has stated in his letter declining the offer, you are able to fix a new date and coax him into showing up, be assured that Senator Omoagege will adjust his schedule and participate in the debate. We believe that a debate involving all the candidates is a veritable platform for the public to get an insight into the persona of every candidate and further enrich their assessment of their programs. However, such exercise can only be meaningful and wholesome if the major candidates, especially the flag bearer of the ruling party in the state, is willing to participate. We immensely appreciate your organization's kind gesture in inviting the Deputy Senate President. And the management of Arise TV also invites Senator Omo Agege tomorrow.
The stage is set
day of March.
Tomorrow.
Yes.
Right here in Warri and the Brownfield Center. And to distinguished Senator Ofioma now has an opportunity, a golden opportunity to also tackle the right honorable Sheriff right here. So the opportunity will be given freely.
Will be at 7 p.m. as well, the same venue, and the two candidates will face each other.
Chief Secretary, you have the right to reply. For 1 minute, please, sir.
Yes, this is not acceptable to me.
Yes.
I think that is sort of an ambush, and I'm not prepared to go ahead with this debate further. I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Deacon Pella?
Well, Chief Okoro, I believe you would have waited to have a response to your position. You also have the opportunity to be here tomorrow. If it is about Chief Okoro, you are missing the opportunity right now. Chief Great Okoro, you are missing an opportunity to speak to Delta indigenous at this crucial time. You have contested elections since 2003, 2007, to 2019. You have persistently contested elections. This is the time for you to make good your promises to Deltans that you have not had the opportunity to be governor to actually actualize. Chief Great Okoro, you have the opportunity to have a routine and return to the electorate.
Chief Pella, do you have any comments on the letters we have read to you?
Yes, I do. I kind of agree with him. However, I'm still here. The key thing is that if you put us here today and you put them and they actually
Tomorrow,
they are not giving us equal opportunity.
yes.
So I would think
You will all be here tomorrow if you wish. Any of you who wants to participate as well.
The you have the opportunity to stay today and stay today.
I will still here.
So you have double chance.
I'll stay today. I will be here tomorrow. I will reward my schedule to be here.
Thank you very much.
No hand class. No hand class.
Ivy, do you have any comments?
First and foremost, I feel while it is the right to have written that letter, I feel very insulted.
Very insulted.
Very, very insulted. What I would suggest we do for equity is to suspend this debate and transfer the debate to tomorrow when we face ourselves.
The respected Chief Kenneth has spoken. Now, Chief, do avert as a very senior lawyer that you are, respected lawyer that you are, do avert your mind to the possibility that these two persons may also not show up tomorrow. They didn't have any reason not to be here. This is the state they intend to govern. This is, if you only have an iota, an inkling of what it takes to put a debate like this together, the cost of which the Arise News channel has bought, to now think that to extend it for them, to which you also have a right. You also have a right to attend, but there is a very strong possibility that you will not attend. Therefore, I advise that you make good of this opportunity to speak to the people that you love and that you want to serve, in line with what the Miller has said. I respectfully submit to you.
As I have said, if we continue with this debate, I've always told everybody that both men would not like to face me for a debate. I will be here today to continue, and I'll be here tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. No hand claps. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Well, to be very honest with you, I knew these two political parties were not going to come. We signed a peace accord some few weeks ago where the Consul General of the U.S. Embassy was in Asaba. They didn't take it seriously, but in that situation, they brought representatives that came to them. You know, this Delta State is where it is today because of these two political parties. Nigeria today is the only country in the world where its citizens are buying their own currency that government did not give to them. So for them not to honor this invitation, it's a disrespect to the people of Delta State, it is dishonoring to the people of Delta State, and also to the world. It's a disgrace to our democracy. I will stand here today to continue this debate, and I will come tomorrow because I can't wait to challenge them in this public debate.
Thank you. Now, the challenge is the People's Democratic Party candidate, right, Honorable Sheriff Obolori, and the candidate of the All Progressive Congress, distinguished Senator Ovio Oladide. The challenge is for you to come here tomorrow, and these candidates are well prepared to also engage you because the battle for the ideas and ideologies that will reshape and redevelop the Delta State is actually ongoing. We will move on to the questions. Angela.
Well, I hope that they will respond to our invitation. Having said that, they have previous engagements. We've arranged now to have them here 7 p.m. tomorrow, the 16th day of March, to attend another opportunity for them to share their ideas with the people of Delta State. The Delta State is one of the 9 oil-producing states that make up Nigeria's Niger Delta region. In terms of oil production, it ranks second. It produces 346,000 barrels of oil a day, and that means that it produces 22% of the oil that Nigeria uses. So it's very important that the person who wants to rule this state comes forward, to share their ideas with Nigeria, with Deltans, and Deltans have taken note about what has happened.
Moving on to the questions.
Thank you to all of you who have remained on the stage.
Moving on to the questions, so that for a lot of time.
Yes.
Delta State ranks very poorly according to the National Bureau of Statistics report on multidimensional poverty and unemployment. Briefly speaking, what would you do to create jobs for the teeming young people of Delta State, starting with Digi Pena?
Well, my 8-point plan for reviving the economy of Delta State is all about jobs. We plan to increase minimum wage that will enable disposable income trickle down into the economy, and that will help to create jobs. We plan to put in place fiscal autonomy for our local government that will ensure that funds that will not come into the local government begin to come to the local government. We plan to put in place a social investment scheme that enables us to give 1 million naira each to 100 people in every local government area in form of interest-free loans payable over 4 years. That will enable them to start businesses and expand their businesses. Our 10 new cities plan is all about job creation because those cities will have industries that are based on the factor endowment of the individual area. We plan a social housing scheme that is all about job creation because the housing is key to economic growth in every economy. We plan to revive our seaport
ensure we have 24-hour power across Delta using the concept of distributed generation. All that is about job creation.
As I've earlier said, the solution to our problem is job creation, return of our industries back. How do I want to do that? I've come up with a plan where I will mop up all my unemployed youths from the street. Starting from first day, I'm going to register all of them, and I will start by paying them 30,000 naira every month. While I do that, it will not last for too long. It is the duty of government to create the enabling environment to get a citizenry employed. So by that arrangement, my citizens will be employed. And when I get you employment, I will then move you out of the door of 30,000 naira into a path of you getting a good job and pay yourself your salaries.
Thank you, Chibadi. Comrades of Fairhead.
Yeah, well, I think I find the question that the beautiful lady there just put across in the oil and gas sector, because that is also linked to the question that you just asked about job opportunities. Let me remind Nigerians and indeed the world. A few weeks ago, the oil and multinational companies made a whopping $260 billion from crude oil, profits made from crude oil, due to the Iraq and, the Russian Ukraine war. And Shell, in their 101-year history, made $38 billion. And Nigeria contributes 10% to Shell total global profits. And my state did not make a penny. And you just mentioned the position we occupy right now within the oil and gas sector. We did not make a penny from that. So anyone who wants to govern this state should have the knowledge and the capacity, the diplomatic capability to be able to sit with the IOC, not even at Nigerian level, but on the international level, to discuss how we can reassign our country, because that sector has the capacity to also bring back about 20,000 jobs for our teeming young people, and that is one critical area that will engage some of our young people.
Your time is up, and we'll go to that very all-important question on security because of time. We're running very seriously out of time. Even though we had questions to ask about the state, internally generated revenue, we also had questions to ask about the backlog of pensions and gratuities and salaries, together with plans for agriculture. We'll go straight to the question of security. There was a time in Delta State, particularly in the Mori area, in the Ugeli area, even in the Asaba area, where when farmers needed to pay protection money to herdsmen in order for them to go to farm, or else they would be kidnapped, or the women will be raped. So, what do plans people have to guarantee Deltans that you are able to provide security as the chief security officer, knowing full well that there is yet to be the amendment of the Constitution to have state police? Briefly, please. It's a very important question. The most important questions that Deltans want to hear is, why are they not safe inside Delta when they have a government? 2 minutes, take it better.
The plan is to eventually have state and community policing. However, if that doesn't happen, we will work with the Nigerian police force. We will properly equip them. And train them, working with them to ensure that our borders, our state is properly secure. I believe that part of the problem that we have today is not just the lack of political will to ensure that our state is well policed. It's also the fact that I believe that the insecurity in Delta, I have a theory that it is on purpose to ensure the kind of popularization that we have in the land. So, we will have the political will to work, if we cannot do state and community policing, we will work
with the existing police force and ensure that our borders and our land is safe.
Thank you. Next, Chief Bagi.
Very quickly, I believe the issue of security is self-inflicted. The most difficult one is the henchman menace that we have inherited. There is no such thing as henchman problem. It is self-arranged. For instance, all of us have our poultries, our piggeries, our fish farm. Nama nama, as we call it when we were growing, is a personal and private business. It should not bring problem to us. From the 1st of June, you will not see henchman or nama nama in my street as the governor, as the chief security officer. How do I want to achieve that? Put it this way, all nama nama that is coming to Delta must arrive to their final destinations by transportation between the hours of 12 and 5 a.m. in the morning. And once that is implemented, our family to retire from our government without. However, the backlog of the pension that have been there, we will serialize by putting 2 billion every month to come from the bank and pay all the pending pensions to the extent that they will not reach up with what we have. I believe very seriously that my government will change the Warri Airport to a 4-lane airport and the Asaba Airport as a 6-lane airport as part of my plan to generate funds to run the
Thank you. Now, Comrade Ofele.
Well, on the issue of security, as Delta State, we are geographically positioned to deal with the issue of our security in the 21st century. There are modern technology that can combat most of the security challenges we have without even deploying human capacity to those venues. Now, once I am the governor of this state, the first thing I will do is to fortify all our entry borders from Benin into Delta, from the Onitsha bridge into Asaba, and from Patani, those coming from Bayelsa into Ubeli and the rest. So we need to first work with the police, with all the security agencies. I've been to several of these police stations. I don't see state-of-the-art equipment that will ensure a proper approach in combating these security challenges that we have. Now, that is not even the problems alone. In the course of my campaigning, I've also visited 2 critical areas, 2 ethnic communities that are having their own dispute problems, the Ogbejo and the Alaja crisis, the Ukwebi and the Ama people. I visited the kids to understand what is actually the problem and to also offer what I think will be my government solution in dealing with those challenges. With the proper political will and with some of these vigilantes that we currently have, if we can fortify them, give them good equipment, give them vehicles that can make them move around, we can protect our farmers against herdsmen. We can also protect our citizens, both at night and during the day, from foreign intruders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll take the next question on state police and capacity to fund it. We know that Delta State is greatly indebted today. So when I listen to you all talking about programs that you intend things that you intend to do, I wonder where you will get the money from. So do you believe in state police? And if you do, how do you intend to fund it, given the debt profile of the state as it stands today?
Yes, I most definitely believe in state police. How do I intend to fund it? Now, there's a lot of waste and corruption in government. I believe that if we're able to cut down waste and corruption, we'll be able to begin to do the basic things. And that's why the foundation of everything we're going to do is enthroned righteousness, which includes eliminating waste and corruption. The next stage I talked about is creating harmony. And then which has to do with the security. Now, once we're able to do those things, the third stage is building a bigger cake, baking a bigger cake. As it is today, we are limited to a large extent to a a limited amount of funds in terms of client-generated revenue, and a limited amount of funds in terms of fund allocation. When we expand the economy, which we intend to do with our 8-point prosperity plan, as we expand the economy, our capacity to receive, and that plan is going to be largely funded by private sector investment because we have created an enabling environment. When we do that, we'll be able to earn enough to fund the expansion.
Thank you very much, Chief Pella. Now, Chief Baggy.
I believe that Nigeria, as we stand today, we must think twice before we decide whether we want to do a state police or not. The funding for Delta State will not be an issue, given the kind of economy I want to run. We will have enough money to run the state police, but we have to think twice the implications that are associated with police. I still believe the Nigerian police, given the right tool, given the right directions of what we want to do, we can combat our police or security situations. I strongly feel that once we solve the major problem, which is unemployment, that has led to insecurity, the economy, the state will be safe, we will go back to our usual lives, and we will have enough to eat, enough to feed our people, enough to pay our bills. You talked about the heavy debt burden. We will have to look very critically into those debts as they relate to the borrowing that has been done by government. Genuine debts that have been incurred by this government will be obviously paid for. You recall the government of Obasanjo and ourselves, when we were in government, we had a debt forgiveness. We brought all our debt back. We will come up with our strategy. We know what to do to bring us to the level playing ground where we can get the economy to start running very fast.
Well, I am 100% in support of state policing. And I strongly believe that that will be an opportunity for us to integrate our vigilantes and make them and constrict them into our state policing. And how am I going to fund it? That's also another very interesting part. I've just mentioned that on the ballot for Saturday, I am the only candidate that has the tenacity, the exposure, and the capacity to be able to attract from the outside foreign direct investment. And what I want to do is that while I am signing a memorandum of understanding with all of these companies, I'm going to set aside 5% corporate social responsibility amount that will be directed into the issue of security, because while we are doing it for our citizens to be protected, we will also be using it to protect the companies who are coming in. And I'm 100% sure that these companies will abide with this. 5% of every investment that come from the outside in foreign currency will be sufficient enough for me to run my state policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is still the Delta State Governorship Debate 2023 happening live right here in the historic city of Orin. And the debate is being viewed across the entire globe from various broadcast outlets, both conventional and online, and of course on YouTube at the Arise News channel and on the Arise website, www.arise.tv. You can also watch it on channels 44 and on GoTV and channels 416 on DSTV. You can also watch the Arise News channel on channel 519 on Sky. And then you can follow this debate real time on Twitter at #Delta Gubernatorial Debate 2023. To that extent, we will be expecting about 5 or 4 questions in the list from the participants online that will come to you. And follow on to the issue of security. We have many questions, but for the sake of time. You are making promises today to Deltans, things you want to do when you become governor. If and when ultimately you become governor, and there is no basis to, because you enjoy immunity, nobody will sue you for failed promises. You don't want to do those things, then you eventually spend the 4 years, use the special powers to win again or not to win again. Would you allow people to hold you accountable? This is following on to this issue of state police. Would you allow people to criticize you and hold you accountable and you will not use the police to hunt them and chase them away from Delta State, the way we are seeing that is happening in some other states. Follow up to that. Follow up to that, because that is just a fallout from the issue of state police. Unfortunately, we didn't have the distinguished senator of Yoruba again here, who is also the deputy state president of Nigeria, who is also the chairman of the amendment committee of the National Assembly. Now, you are talking confidently about state police. You are talking confidently about state police, whereas it is a federal National Assembly that is supposed to do it. He is not here to answer the question, unfortunately. However, would you use the police to chase away people who criticize you because you are not taking to the promises you are making today?
Before you answer that question, please, I'd like to welcome back the candidate of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, Chief Great Ogboru, and invite him back to the stage.
Allow me a round of applause for that honor to the extent. Please, a resounding round of applause for the distinguished gentleman, Chief Great Ogboru, the candidates of the All Progressive Grand Alliance. And I hope that you will be fair to us by not attacking us. We are only just doing our job, sir.
Let me say a big apology to those present and those who are viewing from the homes. Frankly, I was surprised that the organizers had to extend an opportunity for those who boycotted the event to come tomorrow. That for me is an ambush. Nevertheless, out of respect for Deltans and the viewing public, I have to come back here and complete it.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. So we'll start the answers to the question with Labour Party. We'll take everybody and then Chief Ogboru will answer last. So, Deacon Pella.
You just repeat the question.
It is a follow-up to the question on security and state police.
I remember.
If you don't control police, you want state police, but nothing is being done to make us have state police. But you are making promises today. If Deltans begin to call you names and call you out when you are governor because you are not doing what you promised, would you use the police to now create insecurity for them, punish them, chase them out, and they will run away from Delta and Japan? So it's just a follow-up to the question. So,
I think one of the biggest problems we have in government is the fact that before now we didn't have votes count. I expect that Delta should be able to hold their government accountable. The foundation of our government is enthroned righteousness. That includes accountability and integrity. I expect the people to ask us questions. I expect it. I am saying I expect it. I want to also be able to put in place a system where the people participate fully in what is happening in government, and we will put in place transparency in government. Now, my promise is that there will be a pillar of righteousness. There will be a pillar of doing the right thing. If I fail, I expect the Deltas to throw me out at the next election. If I fail to keep my promises, I will not, because it will be going against the foundation of what I've said. I will not harm anybody.
Chief Bagi, how will you utilize state police? Will you harass, as the chief security officer of the state using state police?
I have told you that I do not subscribe right now to a state police. We need to get a bit stronger, a bit more cohesive with the rules of engagement. More importantly, the issue of being a governor. I want to believe that we are not here for a child's play. Being a governor is a serious business. On the 1st of June, I will declare and publicly release my asset declaration to the entire people of Delta State. Now, put it this way. The The solution is character. 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 We need to elect a man that has no character, irrespective of the laws or the rules or the police or no police. He will find a way to jump out of it. I believe that a safe character is a determining factor as to how we get all of this resolved. Our past records will show to us our past event. There are people who don't believe in the state. If you don't believe in the state, then obviously what you are coming here to do is a capital flight to take them out. As I said, I have engaged over 6,000 youths every day here. I have nowhere else to run to. The people know.
Now, corporate.
Well, my background is environmental and human rights activism. I have to state here too, that it is not only, I will not only be responsible to Deltans, not only be responsible to Nigerians, but I will be responsible to all of my friends globally. So I cannot use the state police to hunt anybody. Rather, I will empower the state police, ensure that there is transparency in my government, and also it's going to start from my fiscal policy. I'm going to set up a state-of-the-art website. If you see the one the Delta State currently has, it's a shame. I'm going to set up a state-of-the-art website that will be very transparent, user-friendly, public engaging, and I will also engage with all the security operatives in the states, on a monthly basis. And then the state security police itself will be empowered, will be given all that they need to be able to carry out their duty effectively without interference. So I strongly believe that as the next governor of this state, the first 4 years will mean peace, prosperity, and tranquility for all Deltans.
Okay, thank you, Corporate. Chief Ogo, the same question, sir.
I'm sure you will ask 1 or 2 questions in my absence. And if you could ask those questions and I will answer them and catch up.
Okay, I think
for time purposes, we're running ahead and this program is being live. So, we're really pressed for time. But you will get an opportunity at the end, I'm sure, to, embellish in your closing remarks. So the question was on state police. Many people are worried that the problem with state police is that the chief security officer of the state or the governor can misuse his powers when there's state police. What are your thoughts about that?
Let's make a correction there. The abuse of the police as the witnesses of states in this country right now is happening even in the absence of state police. To have state police, we need a constitutional amendment to which the candidate of the All Progressive Congress has spoken to loudly, but he's not here, unfortunately. Because there is nothing that much can be done at the governor with regards to the starting state police. However, sir, because you are making promises today, and if and when you become governor, you don't keep to those promises, and Deltans begin to criticize you and call you out and begin to hold you accountable. Would you use your incumbential powers as governor with your powers as one who directs police to chase them, to harm them and hunt them, as we witness in some states that I don't want to mention? It's very important because campaign promises in Nigeria are just referred to as nail off. Say sweet things and nobody will hold you accountable. But Deltans being who they are, as they say it in whatever they carry out, they open their mouth and speak their mind.
Thank you.
What would you do to them?
Let me first have 2 minutes. Let me say that I do not believe in state police the way it's being propagated. I think that the experiences we have had over the years shows that a lot of governors are not mature enough to handle this responsibility. And they will use it to harm everybody that's an opposition. However, I think that policing has to be brought home. It has to be more communal based. But how do you get about that? Today, you have a policeman who comes from Imo State to Delta State, And you have a man who comes from my village in Africa, policing somewhere in Abiyokuta. You will find that they are not effective because they are alien to that community. And when they get to such environments, the first point of call or the first callers to them are those actually who are going to abuse the law. So I will say that what we need is a reorganization of the current policing system, and then to have a roadmap to state police maybe in 20 or 30 years from now. But with the level of development of our democracy and the behavior of some of the chief executives, I think state police may be a dangerous exercise. And what am I trying to say? Bring policing back home. Make, for instance, in Delta State, make 90% of the police officers in Delta State indigenous of Delta State. They understand the environment. They know the criminals. They know how to respond quickly. And that makes it possible for effective management of crisis.
Thank you for Boruba. I'm also going to give you the opportunity to respond now to the two questions that we asked when you were not, in the hall. The first, my question was on state police and capacity to fund state police. We had talked about how Delta State is heavily indebted at this time, and when we hear you all making promises, we wonder where you are going to find funding for it. So, if you support state police, tell us, and also tell us how you will fund it.
I have told you that at this point in time, it is a bit risky. First, you don't have the money, and secondly, you don't have the leadership or the right character to handle local challenges and contentions that will come from this exercise. So no, I subscribe to the view that if we have to have state police at all, it must be a long-term phase, gradual exercise that will lead to a conclusion over several years. But a sweeping, a state police by fiat is certainly not desirable today.
Thank you very much.
We're moving on straight away
to make a few announcements. Kevin Usari of the Nigerian Fact Checkers Coalition is working in collaboration with Rise News right now, fact-checking whatever is said here, and also posting results on the social media. Together with Laju Awala of Rise FM 106.7 FM, which is broadcasting the debate in Fiji. And quite a number of persons are watching this debate across the entire world at this time. This is your moment to serve Deltans.
So we move on straight to health.
I thought you had a second question.
Well, the chief, before the question, interestingly, is that the citizens of Delta states that you intend to serve are being reported to be paying protection money to herdsmen in order to visit their farms to work so that they will not be kidnapped or having their women and girls raped. Interestingly, these are herdsmen that don't have herds of cattle. So that situation underscores and actually emphasizes the dire situation that a security situation facing Delta State at this moment. Now that you do not believe in state police, what would you do in this current security arrangement under the constitution of the present constitution of Nigeria to protect the people of Delta State if and when you become governor?
Thank you. First, I think that a lot of activities are taking place under the guise of herdsmen. And I think that some criminal elements, even who are our own children, are committing these atrocities and they call it herdsmen. What is causing this? A hungry man is an angry man. Joblessness in society, a lack of opportunity in society, is turning our children into wild animals. And so I really want to interrogate this question and to find out if it is indeed true that all of these crimes are committed by so-called herdsmen. And if it's so, then we must have a critical engagement with these people and give them the opportunity to change. But my gut feeling tells me that what the problem is is that we have created a situation in the state in which our children, our boys, our youths who are jobless, who are helpless, have taken the laws in their hands. And all of them, of course, have become heads. So that is what I think the situation is.
Thank you very much. We'll go straight to healthcare. There was a time here in Delta State when women who wanted to give birth and who were going to have birth by surgery, which we call cesarean sections, didn't have to pay a dime for those surgeries. I understand that in the last 7-8 years, that is no longer possible. In other words, a woman who has to give birth by cesarean operation will have to pay money for that. What will you do to ensure that all women can give birth free of charge in this state, whether it is by what we call natural birth or by cesarean section, without paying a dime, because it is not their fault that they have to have a child at surgery?
Is that to me?
Yes.
Well, it's not just the women who are having cesarean operations, that are being challenged health-wise. Some days ago, a friend of mine was rushed to the hospital, and they demanded that he should pay ₦1 million before treatment began. I don't think that is proper. Somebody is on a sick bed, is dying, and you ask that they must bring ₦1 million. I would have thought that the first thing to do is to treat and to ensure that that person is alive and healthy before we start to talk about the cost implications. In any case, I want to think that it's because the government has not been able to create an avenue to ensure that these bills will be paid eventually. Therefore, in this government that we are proposing, in our Jubilee agenda, we are saying that the government, as of necessity, must subsidize some of the medical bills, not only of the public hospitals, but of the private hospitals, so that these challenges will not be there. But specifically, healthcare for the aged, healthcare for the elderly has to be free. You cannot expect the elderly amongst us who are retired and who are not paying their pension fees, or their pension retirement monies to treat themselves. The government has to be the father of everybody. Therefore, we must make sure that we set aside a particular amount of the resources that should be able to take care of these challenges, to make sure that not only are the hospitals able to function, but that they are able to treat sick elderly people at commensurate rates. But not only that, to make sure that we will not allow any child die because they do not have money to pay for hospital bills. If that is the case, and the child is sick and they must be treated, then the state must step in, because every life is important.
Very much. Now, taking Pella.
I agree with him that what you just said in terms of women who give birth is not the only problem. There's a bigger problem in terms of healthcare. And I did say when I was talking about prosperity that one of the things we do, healthcare is a right of the citizens. It's not a privilege. And so we're going to put in place a participatory health insurance scheme that is structured in such a way that there will be premiums for some classes that will ensure that it's able to subsidize for other classes of people that cannot afford it, like the aged and the poor people. So, based on our plan, we will put in place a participatory health insurance scheme that will ensure we have affordable quality health care across the land.
Thank you very much. Chief Baggy.
The issue of healthcare in Delta State is a very sensitive one. In my opinion, healthcare ought to be a tourism. There are a number of issues in healthcare that can make us generate so much money without actually affecting mortality child. What of you? I will continue with the old program where you can have your children, every child, and 6 months, then up to 1 year, we have to have medical facility free of charge for this community. The hospitals today are not existing. They are not into right on that. We're going to create community hospitals to cater for our mothers, our wives and children that want to bear children. However, put it this way, we have a plan for the aged. There's going to be an arrangement where once you cross 70 years of age, the state will cater for you. The state will have an hostel for you to go. A lot of persons have died as a result of lack of funds, lack of care. Their children have been unable to care for them at certain age because of the economic situation we find ourselves. So we have a massive plan, both for children that will be born and for you that have grown to be 70 years, haven't served.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Comrade Ofe.
Well, this is one very critical aspect that my manifesto has looked at with some experts globally, and so I have stated in my manifesto that I will ensure that every pregnant woman, I don't need to wait until they give birth to now know whether it's cesarean or direct birth. Every pregnant woman in my time as governor of this state will have free access to hospital and free access to medicine. And every children born till the age of 5 will have free access to hospital and free access to medicine. And how do I intend to fund this? I want to use my proceeds from look at the proceeds from agricultural investments, because one of the major ideas behind my agricultural policy is to ensure that we produce quality and affordable nutritional food for our people. In doing that, we would have been able to combat some of the primary health challenges that we face, which are resulting from malnutrition. So once we can clear that, we can be able to get the space to be able to deal with these pregnant women and the children that are young, and that's, of course, our senior citizens at the same time. Let me quickly just add this to it. So therefore, I want to also ensure that I will become the first governor in any Nigerian state that will give social benefits to underprivileged citizens. Therefore, every month I will be giving a 10,000 naira minimum to underprivileged citizens in this state.
Thank you very much. Just as we have fact checkers like Kevin Busari of the Nigerian Fact Checkers Coalition, who is working in collaboration with Arise News on this debate, together with Laju Amala of Rise FM 106.7 FM, who is broadcasting, the FM station that is broadcasting this debate in Pidgin English. Apart from fact checking, they are also recording your promises. These promises will be held against you. So it's better you stay silent about some of these things. However, these are fantastic promises. We will proceed also to make a few more announcements, reminding us that is still the Delta State Governorship Debate 2023 right here in the historical city of Warri. Thankful to Chief Rizoboro for changing his mind to return, and we also thank all the other candidates for their painstaking show of energy in the way they have answered the questions. As for tomorrow, it is absolutely, if at all it's going to happen, if at all the two candidates brave up enough to square up with the Delta to have a lot of questions to ask and they show up, we will definitely have 100% right to be here. The standard is, if the candidate does not show up at the debate, his seat is marked empty. That is, he failed in that responsibility. But Arise News is bending over to give at a very huge cost this opportunity, to which you can also have to emphasize this point. I have a question, a very quick one. Lotus Odiri is a professional broadcaster in Arise News. He has all the figures with regards to business and development in Nigeria. Ask this question, which I intend to ask. 75% of the revenue of Delta State currently comes from the federal allocation committee monthly. 75%. Whereas it means that Delta State wholesomely depends on
revenues that are shared monthly from the federal allocation, revenue allocation committee. What, therefore, is your plan to reverse the huge dependency of Delta State, together with the fact that its internally generated revenue is only 25%? So this is not a good record. So what plans, in 2 minutes, please, do you have to reverse
if you have read our manifesto, you will understand that we have clearly set out the roadmap to coming out of this situation. Delta State today is 75% dependent on the federal government. That should not be so. Why do we have this situation? There are no industries that are producing anything here of any substance. And then the oil companies that were here have taken flight because of huge restiveness. Where we are today means that the government has to take an active role in creating, recreating the economy, such that what we have today will be the opposite of what it is now. Sorry, what we have now, and what we intend to do will be completely different. So that when this government comes about, the revenue from Delta States will become 75%, and that from the federal government will be 25%. And let me tell you why. I did say earlier on that we'll be investing in areas of comparative advantage. I mentioned the oil and gas sector, I mentioned agriculture, and also mentioned the marine resources. Yes, if we invest wisely in Delta State, we will create so much opportunities that we will be earning a profit. I had said that for you to invest today, or for you to borrow money as a state government, it should be in revenue generating assets.
Thank you very much, Chief Ogoro. We move on to Tim Pella.
I don't need 2 minutes for this one. The 8-point plan. That 8-point plan will grow the economy of Delta State and reverse the situation.
Thank you for that answer. Chief Bagi.
Delta State is the richest state in Nigeria and richer than 42 countries in the world. Our problem is lack of an entrepreneurial sense. Once you bring back our industry, you take our children back to work, you break the issue of unemployment, you break the major issue of insecurity in the state, Delta State is going to grow and we have enough to pay the bills.
Thank you very much.
Well, Delta State is where it is today because of the over-reliance on FAC and internally generated revenue, which is mysterious. That is why my focus will be on foreign direct investments. And in foreign direct investment, I'll be able to, with my foreign direct investment policy, the icing on the cake in my administration will just be what comes from FAC, what comes from the 13% derivation and the internally generated revenue. But there is need for us to also look at how we internally generate revenue. I mean, the internally generated revenue that we currently have in Delta State is exploitative, and that is why in my first 100 days in office, every levy, taxes on keke riders, motorcycle, bikers, and even our women who have decided not to do crime but are hustling and working in the market, I will scrap them. In Old Major Market, while I was consulting with them yesterday, you cannot have people who are suffering in that kind of condition and yet you tax them. So by the time I take over office as the next governor of this state, I will institute a moratorium on every taxes and levies that come from those market women until we are able to show government responsibility towards them by giving them all the social amenities that they genuinely deserve. And in that way, we can start talking about how we generate revenue from them. Foreign direct investment is key to the running of my day-to-day administration. And on the ballot for Saturday, I think I am best positioned to be able to bring this into the state.
I want to take you to the education sector. The United Nations advocates that 26% of a state's revenue is reserved for funding education, and we all remember fondly a time when Delta State, was leading in all the exams, the West African School Certificate, many external exams. You always have Deltans at the top of the tables leading. What do you intend to do about that? Will you institute that 26% of revenue to fund education? Because we all know that without education, we're doomed.
Well, 26% is a working proposition. The situation specific here will determine what we do. In my program, we are saying that education should be free from the primary to the secondary school level, and also we go to university students.
It will be qualitative.
It has to be qualitative. It has to be qualitative education. And depending on what the figures say and what the budget or revenue is, we will decide what percentage it is. I do not think that we will get to 26% in one fell swoop. I think that we will be able to gradually invest more in education, which is to say, we're investing more in the human resources portfolio. And I did say earlier on as an infrastructure, human beings as an infrastructure in which we're investing. Yes, I don't think that investing 5 or 6% of our resources, of our revenue, of our budget in education is sufficient. That figure is not good enough.
Very much. Deacon Peller.
We will gradually increase the percentage. The first thing is to try to ensure that what is being spent is well spent. As it is, I talked about waste and corruption. The question is, that 5-6% that is being spent, how well is it being used? So we'll start from that to audit that process and improve the quality of usage. And then as we increase our revenues, we will education is key. And I said that education is the right of the citizen. We will provide quality education as a right, not a privilege.
Thank you very much, Chief Babi.
This is a very interesting area, as you recall. I was Minister for State Education, which means primary school, tertiary institutions were under me. Within 1 year, I created 13 university, 8 guest child secondary school, and tons of manual schools across the country. Put it this way, you will agree with me that the best government since inception of the creation of this country to date was the Jonathan's government, because we provided a free, level playing economy and arrangement for us to get where we're going. We will declare a state of emergency in the educational sector. There's a lot of problem. You have a whole school, for instance, where you have 2 teachers. In a one community or a local government, you have 644 schools. You don't have the manpower to run those schools.
How will you make teaching attractive? How will you make people want to be teachers if you're not paying them well?
For your information, when we started, we have colleges of education. You go to college of education and come out, you are paid salary to go and teach. We will reverse all the situation today where teachers have been neglected. Teachers' welfare are not being looked into. The other day during my campaign, one of the ladies came to me to say, I have read and have a PhD right now, but I'm still on level 7, where I started from when I've gone to school. We will have to adjust the situation to be equitable. Like I've said, the key to the success of this state is character. Once there's honesty of purpose and people are not coming to carry capital flight of our funds away from the state, it's a good-to-go state. We will come up with those policies.
All right, thank you very much. We are really out of time. Deltans want to really know you as persons.
So I think that you'll be seeing me.
Okay, sorry.
There is a lot.
This is the most important part of my manifesto, so you can't take me out of the equation. I hope I'm not using my 2 minutes.
No, not yet.
Thank you.
It starts now.
Thank you. Well, our education is in coma. Whether I stick with the 26% or whether I'm going to increase it will be determined by the team that I will put in place in my first 100 days in office. I am a proponent of public schools, and I will impose the Rwanda format, the Rwanda system, which they tie to the Sustainable Development Goal, therefore attracting foreign investment in that capacity, not paid investment for them to pay back. Time will not be enough for me to explain how they did that. But then we need to look at how we can pump in money. Our teachers today in this state are suffering because of inconsistency in salary. And most of them are stuck to a particular government level, like my daddy just said, where they are not promoted. So the motivation is dead. And most people who are transferred to the riverine communities don't even go because the government do not make a proper arrangement or incentives that can ensure that they go to those areas. So it's a sector that needs diagnosis. Without that, you cannot stand here and talk about how you deal with the situation. But it's going to play a critical role in my government because I am who I am today globally because I attended a public school, Unity School, Akbaru. And I want to give that to our children, our youth. I was in Delsu. I saw the state of suffering in that school. And most of the students still today are still begging me. The deadline for their tuition fee ended, I think, on Tuesday, a few days back. They've been neglected, they've been squeezed, and parents can no longer afford the tuition fee that is placed on them. So these are the things that I want to critically look at. If Delta State can give me the chance to give them.
All right, we're gradually coming to the close of this debate session, but there are some controversial issues with regards to each and every one of the candidates here. And this debate, so that it doesn't appear to be a charade of rehearsed questions. We didn't rehearse any questions with you. And Deltans and world over will ask questions on social media. We'll be asking you very soon. But this question I want to put to each and every one of you specifically will give you an opportunity to disabuse the minds of many people across the world with regards to certain controversies surrounding your personalities, because you are here in a very crucial debate. I probably skip the other, or probably stay with the other and start with the highly respected Chief Rate Ogoro, who, when you returned from exile, contested election in 2003, contested election in 2007. Correct me if I'm wrong, sir. I'm a lawyer, not a historian. You also contested election in 2011, contested election in 2015. If I'm not mistaken, you also contested election in 2019. In all of these elections, in some of which have controversial results, which we cannot dispute because the courts pronounced otherwise, you did not win. Many people are saying, sir, and I'll ask the question to each and every one of you differently. Many people are saying that, are you in this race to win? Or you are in this race to punish a political rival or to prove a point? I will ask the question to the Impella too, a separate one for you all answer at once, differently. As for the Impella, many Deltans are claiming that they don't know you. These are controversial statements, so take them with a pinch of salt. And that you are riding simply on the back of the new wave of Peter Obi, and that you do not possess the sufficient political substance to be a man of your own to withstand the heavy weights of like Chief Ogo and Chief Gbagi. The controversial question to Chief Gbagi is that what is, as a lawyer of a very high repute, Minister of the Federal Republic of former Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a quintessential entrepreneur who has a lot to show for his success. What do you think about the human rights of the people you govern? When the social media was awash at the time, that you were dehumanizing and punishing some of your staff. And these are controversial questions that you will have to correct today, and we will take the final word from you. And finally, Comrade Ofe, you are said to be a diaspora, even at this moment. You don't live in Nigeria. You live very proud of Rotterdam and Netherlands and things like that. You spend all your time in Netherlands. Yes, you want to, only when it comes to election, you come and make billboards, want to be governor, and you've also contested elections several times. So why are you really here to win, or you are just pushing a scheme? So please, these questions are specific to each of you. You have to use to disabuse the minds of elders, and whatever you say now will be final answer. Thank you.
Well, I think it's only a fool that will set about trying to contest an election to punish somebody. The cost of elections are huge. The sacrifices you make going through the nooks and crannies of the states is not such that you want to undertake. In any case, in all of those elections I contested, on good authority and proper environment and the proper clients, I won the elections. Deltans know it. Why are you contesting? Yes, we are contesting because we believe that there's an injustice in the state. We are contesting because we are saying Delta cannot be defeated by a few people. We are contesting because we are saying some persons cannot use vote non-existent vote to form government in Delta State. We are contesting because we have not seen anybody who can stand up to these persons. Therefore, until we have justice, until we are liberated, until Deltans can cast their votes at the count, we will keep on standing for what is right, irrespective of whose fault they are.
Thank you very much, Chief Oboru. Now to take
Deltans don't know me. That's what they say. However, I have a political pedigree. My father was a member of the Midwest House of Assembly. My elder brother was a member of the Bengal House of Assembly. I contested election in Delta State for the first time as chairman of my local government in 2020, between 2020 and 2022. That was the first and only time the PDP had its direct primary, which I won. But the system in Delta State did not let me become governor. Now, become chairman. Now, I have stayed involved in the political process. However, this time, when I chose to run for governor, clearly, we know that we come from a political situation where it is basically transactional. I chose to run under the Labour Party, which was not fashionable. At the time I bought my ticket to run, it was clearly not fashionable to be with the Labour Party. I stuck with it, and I had the strategy which I wanted to do. Every song has the first part and the last part, the chorus that you remember. My strategy was to run a sprint, and I can assure you that Delta know me now.
Thank you very much. Chief Kagi.
Please.
Thank you for posting this question again, which is very, very important. Number one, the state looked at me in totality and came to a conclusion that I was blemishless. So they were looking for things to say about my person. This particular issue I referred to was put together by Okowa and then Attorney General. It's a public knowledge today. He has come to apologize to me. I was so irresponsible to have 6 daughters, medical doctor, chartered accountants, and whatever, and go to the level of going to ask persons to go and strip girls or dehumanize any woman. It never happened. It was all plotted by Okowa and it failed. Okowa even passed a new law to the general to punish the crime of domestic violence. That crime, that law was signed on the 31st of October, was backdated to July, the date in July. And I published in the Vanguard that there was no way in this world that I've seen a law passed and have a retroactive effect. Put it very simply, 4 courts, 4 courts of competent jurisdiction, a federal high court, and 3 state high court had cleared me of any wrongdoing. I did not do any such. I will never do it. But the problem is that they realize that I'm not corruptible. I'm a man of my word, my principles, and as such, thank you.
Well, it's a very good question. In as much as I am a diaspora, my participation and my activities back home, particularly within the Niger Delta region, speaks volume for itself. They are all in the public domain for people to see. I was the first man to actually attract Europeans, Americans to come during the militancy era. I was the first person to go into the creeks to engage these young men on the need for them not to take arms, but to take advantage of the general publicity that they have gathered to see how we can turn them into positivity for our people. In 2014, yes, in 2014, I was also the person who came to the creeks with some Dutch people to see how we can help Cottage Hospital, 12 cluster communities in southern Ijaw area. The reason why I specifically picked those locations was because this 12 cluster community were host community to Nigerian deep sea, the 2 biggest offshore drilling platforms, the Bonga oil field and the EA oil field, with a combined capacity of 500,000 barrels of crude oil per day. And then I have been invited severally to speak at Senate committees here in Abuja and House of Representative committees. I'm also attracted, so my record is, yes, my record is there for everyone to see. I am in this race to win.
You are very important. Maybe take this one. However, it is now time for you to ask yourself questions.
Yes.
And the response time will just be a minute, because we have less than 10 minutes to go because of the broadcast time that is actually casting.
Okay, so we take Chief Okoro to ask one of the candidates, your fellow candidates, a question.
No, I have no questions for any of them.
All right, Chief Okoro, do you have a question for anyone?
Neither do I.
No. Chief Gabi, do you have a question?
Yes, I do have a question. There is this controversial issue of Kampala having embezzled 100 million, and he was tried and indicted. I just want to have information as to whether that was correct, and if you have cleared that indictment, because it is only the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to clear you of that indictment. I so want to know this.
All right.
That story is not true. I have said it categorically. If it is true, publish the indictment. If I did a criminal offense, arrest me. It is not. I did say it is not. It is not true.
All right. Commander Fair, do you have a question?
No, mine is not a question. Mine is an appeal to my daddy here, Chief Griggs Obiji Oboro. Daddy, I've followed you for many years. I love you so much. You were one man who stood up for me. You encouraged me while I was in the university. And in 2019, when I wanted to become a candidate for the ABC, after much pressure, I stepped down for you. And I know how much you want to see a better Delta state. And I know how much you love this state. And that is why you have worked tirelessly.
Your 1 minute is about to be over.
I'm not done yet.
Your 1 minute.
But I want to appeal to you here, Daddy. Please, support me in this race. Give it to me. I will ensure. I'm not done yet. Daddy, I will ensure that all the dreams and wishes you wanted to give to Deltans, through me, your son, we will give it to Deltans. I know how much you don't want the APC and the PDP to take over the state. Think about it. We have 3 days to the election. Thank you so much. God
bless. He asked me a question. He sought my support. He made an appeal. Of course, he will not get far from me now. It was better that I supported diaspora than to support the gentleman standing here. The time for you will have not come. I think we should do what we did in the last election. Stay on again. Let's do this business.
Please, before we go further, we have a fact check from the Nigeria Fact Checkers Coalition, NFC. And this fact check relates to something that Comrade Sonny Ofe of the Young Progressive Party had said. He made a claim that Delta State has the second highest debt profile in Nigeria. Now, according to the Fact Checkers Coalition and according to data from the Debt Management Office, Delta does not rank second. Delta ranks second highest in domestic debt with 272.6 billion naira, and that's of September 2022. However, Delta owed $60 million as at the end of June 2022, ranking it 18 among the 36 states in the domestic and external debt combined. In other words, they're saying that Delta does not have the second highest debt profile in Nigeria.
All right, thank you, fact checkers. We have a minute or two to go, and this is time for the unity. Arise means that we made it possible for this to happen, and all of us here, including of us on the other side, are from Delta State, so that we can talk to ourselves and for once save our state. And we've been quite frank with ourselves today, and now it's time to express that show of unity by now asking the candidates to exchange handshakes, and then we'll proceed to have a group photograph. It's been quite a worthwhile time for these candidates that have experienced so much energy, so much enthusiasm, so much interest and passion in the way they have made promises to Deltas today. We haven't seen the shaking hands with Great Okoro. The song will also shake hands with the father now. We will hear later in the news. It's really a great time, and we're grateful to all those who have made this possible, particularly the management and staff of the Arise News channel who has made this possible, together with the technical people who have worked tirelessly in the last 4 days. Now, tomorrow is conditioned on the fact that those two candidates confirm in unequivocal terms that they will be here. And then you can also come and have your field day. It's time to have a good program. There's no more time. City time is just over. It's a great time. And then for you, the audience who conducted yourself in such a respectable manner, you will know that we're going to be carrying out that you have said it today to the whole world that you can indeed be law-abiding citizens. And so that we can make the work easy for any of them who ultimately becomes the chief salad of Delta State tomorrow. So,
can we have the candidates come down?
all right.